everybody, welcome to Natty's Home Cooking, and today we're going to make the homemade moist stuffing. We are going to start off with what is inside the turkey. So I'm going to be boiling these in the pan. I'm going to take out what's in this pouch and just place it in here because we're going to be using this broth, and we're going to also be using the gizzard and the liver in this as well. Not the neck. The neck we do not use. But let's go ahead and get this on the pan, or put some water in it. We're going to add a little bit of salt, a little bit of poultry seasoning, and I'm also going to put some onions in this as well. So we're going to go ahead and add those. And I just sprinkle in a little bit of that poultry seasoning just to give it that flavor, because I am going to fill this up quite a bit just because I do need it for my stuffing. And I'm going to add in some of that garlic powder. I love garlic powder. And then the sea salt. So we'll add that sea salt. And also, guys, before you say, oh my gosh, she is using liver or and gizzard into the stuffing, yes, I am, but I'm going to tell you why. Okay, I do not like liver and gizzard. I do not like them at all. But in the stuffing, when you do go put it in there, you want it to be as fine as possible. And because it does give it a different flavor that is out of this world. I'm not kidding. It's so amazing. Even my husband and my boys are like, oh my gosh, you're going to add. Yes, I am, because it does give it a flavor. It's a different flavor that it gives off. I don't know what it is, but it does taste so much more better. It's like a rich flavor into that stuffing. But try it, please, before you say no. You need to always try something, even though it may look gross, but it's really, really good. So anyway, we're going to boil this down, make it tender, because you do not want to place it in there hard. You want it to be very, very tender. So we're just going to let this cook for a while, for about, I think I do mine for about an hour or until it's really, really tender, until that turkey is done, the turkey neck. So it may be a little more than that. But anyway, we're going to just place this on the pan and let that cook. And now, in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to prepare our stuffing. Also, we're going to add 2 sticks of butter to a pan and let that melt down. And before you also get started with this, please make sure 2 days before you start all this, do the stuffing mix, okay? Make a cornbread. I'm sorry, not stuffing mix. Make a cornbread. And let that sit for at least a couple of days. Sorry, guys, I'm having a little bit of some issues with my sinuses. And you're also going to let your bread set out. I do about almost a loaf of bread altogether. I just let it set out, and then I crumble it all up. And if it's not still dry enough, stick it in the oven on low and just let it cook and dry out. And then you can just set and crumble it up into your stuffing mix. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and get that started. I am going to go ahead and cut up some onions and place it in there with that butter and let that saute. And then I'm also going to be cutting up some celery here in a second. And yes, I do have a sore on my hand. I got attacked by my rooster. All of a sudden he's starting to attack, and I don't know why. But yeah, not good. So I don't go and pet them anymore, just because he's being very protective over the hens. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and let these onions saute along with the celery. I'm going to cut up the celery next and place those in there with the onions. And I do about 4 to 5 sticks of celery altogether. I make mine very, very fine, very kind of like thin slices, as much as possible, because I don't like chunks of celery in my cornbread. I want to be able to taste my cornbread, not the celery or chunks of onion. Everything has to be very, very thin. So we're just going to place these in there. Also, guys, I just want you to know that this is how I do my stuffing. I'm not saying you have to do it this way. Other people may have different ways of doing it. That's fine. I mean, there are a lot of wonderful stuffing recipes out there. And, this is just how I do mine, and I love it this way. It's amazing. I just wanted to share it with you. So, anyway, let's go ahead and finish this up and get started or get done so that we can eat our stuffing. Okay, so there are a lot of steps to making this stuffing, but in the long run, it's going to be amazing. You're going to have a family and or friends that come over that are going to love this stuffing. So we're just going to crumble up this stuff, the cornbread here. It's, in just little chunks. You don't want to just grind it up. You want to just have a little bit of that stuffing the cornbread, I'm sorry, I always keep calling it stuffing, cornbread that has a little bit of chunks to it. We're going to place it in here in the pan here, and I'm going to just cut down some of these chunks of cornbread here a little bit more. And then once we get all that done, we're going to be placing in our sauteed onions and celery and a little bit of that butter. Okay, and then once we get those in there, I am going to place I'm going to do a little bit more onions because I feel like more onions need to be done too as well. This is my ground up my bread that I had already cooked earlier too as well. So I'm going to be cutting up some more onions and place them in the pan too, because you want as much onions in there too. You don't want to have too little, but you want to have enough. So I think altogether I did 2 onions altogether into the stuffing. So we're going to add the pepper. We will be adding those onions to it, but we're going to add pepper. We're going to add in some poultry seasoning, and I do about 2 to 2.5 teaspoons of pepper, black pepper, and I also added some sea salt, which I did about, I think it's 2 teaspoons altogether. I may have to add more. That's why I always taste as I go. And I am going to add a little bit of garlic powder as well. And I do about two teaspoons of that as well. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of garlic powder. I do about 2.5 teaspoons altogether for the garlic powder, and the rest of my sauteed onions. And then we are going to get ready to bring in this turkey broth. So we're going to start pouring in that liquid into here, and we're going to mix it. So go ahead and start adding in some of that broth a little at a time. Just kind of sprinkle it on around the whole bowl here, or the whole pan. And just mix it as you go. Now, right now it's still way too dry. We need to have this really moist, because what's going to end up happening when you cook this, it's going to start to thicken up and combine with all that bread that you got in here, because we got cornbread and dried up loaf of bread. So go ahead and keep mixing. Okay, we're going to add in more broth here in a little bit. I do want to get my eggs in, so I'm going to be adding in 3 eggs and a little bit of milk to these eggs. So I'm going to blend them up. So I'm going to place them in my magic bullet here. So go ahead and do that as you're watching a video. Okay, go ahead and pour in that milk. I do about half, like a little over halfway, or a little less than halfway for the milk. I think I just added about a half a cup of milk to the 3 eggs. And I'm just going to blend these up really, really good. And then I'm going to place them into the cornbread mixture. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get ready to add that egg mixture in. Okay, and then we're going to mix it up just a bit. We're going to add in more broth, just a little at a time. We don't want to add all the broth in all at once, because then you can make it way too runny, and then you're kind of just stuck there with, okay, what do I got to do now? You're going to have to end up making more dried up bread to fill in that. We don't want to do that. So that's why we do a little at a time. Now is the part where we chop very, very thin, fine liver and the gizzard. We do not use the neck, only this part right here. Yes, trust me, I know it looks gross, but it's really, really good. So, like I said, I don't eat this stuff, and I should because it's actually good for your blood. Got a lot of iron in it, and it's very, very healthy for you. But what I do is I chop it up as fine as I can, and then I'll place it in there. Honestly, I don't think my boys knew I put this in here. Well, they are now, but yeah, because they don't like this stuff either at all. But they loved it. They said, "Oh my gosh, the stuffing is so wonderful." Yeah, if you only knew I put the stuff in here. But you know what? It's okay. They need to know so that this way they can, show their kids on how to make it. Because this is the secret ingredient. You want to add it in here. It just gives it a different flavor that's out of this world. So, and if you don't like it, if you just don't want to add it, you don't have to. You can leave it out. You can minus that. That's not a big deal. I'm just saying it just gives it a better flavor. That's all. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add this in here. Okay, and then we'll mix that up in there. And you can tell when I'm stirring this how dry it still is. We do not want it this way. So my next step that I'm going to be adding in here is you're going to be adding a cream of chicken soup. So you just use 1 can of cream of chicken, and then you'll fill that can up with a thing of milk. So we'll add the milk into that cream of chicken. Okay, before we start with the cream of chicken, you want to add about maybe a third or less of brown sugar, just a little bit, not a lot. It gives it another little flavor to it, kind of like a little bit of a sweet, not too sweet, but just a little bit that gives it a better flavor as well. Just adding that little bit of brown sugar does help. Okay, guys, we're going to add in a little bit of milk. I used probably about a 1/4 cup or a little more of milk into this. Now I'm going to do the cream of chicken into the blender. And I use my magic bowl. You can use whatever. And we're also going to add a cup or a can of milk to this as well. That's why I don't add all that broth. This is because of this reason right here. Because you want to have this richness right here, this creamy richness, which gives it a whole nother flavor to this stuffing. This is the probably one of the main ingredients to the stuffing is this cream of chicken sauce here. So just go ahead and mix this all together. Look how much more wet it is. This is how you want your stuffing right here. Now, if it's this way before you add this in, then you definitely had way too much broth in it. You don't want it to be like that. This is the way that it's supposed to be. And then once you get it done, what we're going to do, it's now time for baking. We're going to cook this at 375, and I do mine for about, because it's such a big pan, close to almost 2 hours on 375. I do watch it and make sure it's cooking okay and it's getting cooked all the way through. You will have to check it every once in a while. Okay, so just let it cook. Put aluminum foil on it or a lid on it, and just cook it in the oven. Also, guys, make sure you taste it before you cook it in the oven. Okay, I know it sounds gross, but just taste it. Make sure the flavors are there. Okay. All right. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching my video. You all have a wonderful night and stay safe. God bless and happy holiday. Merry Christmas.